The Apartment Gurus podcast is brought to you by Greenlight Equity Group, an apartment acquisitions and holdings firm co-founded by Carl York and Tate Siemer, host of this show. We offer you the opportunity to be an owner of cash-flowing, wealth-growing apartments without the headaches of being a landlord. These assets are recession-resistant, risk-mitigated, offer significant tax advantages, and are a great alternative to the stock market. Ready to check it out? Go to www.investwithgreenlight.com today to book a personal consultation with Carl or Tate. Again, that's investwithgreenlight.com. We look forward to meeting you. Welcome to The Apartment Gurus, where twice a week, host Tate Siemer brings you deep dive interviews with the wisest gurus in the apartment investing industry. These experts are sure to create game-changing value and inspiration designed to catapult your business to the next level. Be sure to reach out to Tate at www.investwithgreenlight.com for access to his investor portal and Calendly link. And now, here is Tate Siemer and the Apartment Gurus.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Apartment Gurus podcast. And we have a very special guru on the show today, not named Tate Siemer, because I don't really think of myself as a guru per se just yet, but I think we're all gurus in the making in this space. So I've got Sean Tagge of two different companies. The first one's called Memphis Investment Properties. And they do single family, primarily flips, Sean, with that company?
Turnkey flips to investors.
Yeah. And did you say you do about 300 a year?
Yeah, 300 a year.
Wow. That's a machine, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to scale single family to that level. I know I've done single family and we didn't even get close to that. So Sean actually grew up here. Did you grow up in Utah?
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
So where was your family's fruit orchard?
Yeah, so fruit orchard in Brigham City, hour north of Salt Lake City, and then we sold to the retail people at the farmers markets in Salt Lake. Did that every summer, 6 a.m. getting the corn fresh from Brigham, bringing it back down to Salt Lake.
What is that fruit orchard now? Is it still there?
Oh yeah, my dad's crushing it. He's now up to 100 acres plus that he owns, and then farming probably 150. And he's one of the easy top 5 farmers in Utah, maybe more.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. I'll keep an eye out.
Taggie's famous fruit, man. Go anytime. Yeah, they're all over.
Awesome. Good to know. So as most of the listeners know, I'm based here in Salt Lake City, Greenlight headquarters. And we do invest in the Columbus, Ohio market and the Oklahoma City market, mainly because we can cash flow properties there in those markets. And that's hard to do, if not impossible to do with pricing in Utah. So we don't do a whole lot in Utah anymore, but we're always looking. So you went to the University of Utah here in Salt Lake City and graduated, and then did research on artificial hearts. That sounds fascinating. And then in 2017, he transitioned into his true passion, real estate investing and entrepreneurship, which is such a switch of gears there in your career. And like I said, he's the managing partner, COO of Memphis Investment Properties, and they do the single family thing at a high level. And then Southern States Apartment Group is his other company. And he's a partner in that group that has acquired over 750 multifamily value add apartment doors and raised over 10 million in equity from LP accredited investors to acquire those apartments. So really nice track record, Sean, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, Tate, thanks so much. Super honored to be on this podcast and humbled. Thanks for having me here. You're a legend. I've been listening to your podcasts actually myself. I listen to a bunch, so I'm just all over. And I couldn't have done it without my partners and team and the mentors and people who have helped me, my parents, of course. So, but yeah, just grateful to be here.
How did you get that entrepreneurial bug, between doing college, majoring in bioengineering? Did you major in bioengineering?
Yeah, biomedical engineering. At the U of U.
I mean, that's a long ways from the space of owning and running your own business. So where did that come from? Was that just part of you?
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of wanting to do make a medical device or go to med school or get an MBA and be run a hospital or a research division.
Okay.
But then I was like a lion in a cage there. I was at the U of U hospital doing, FDA research clinical trials under physicians.
Yeah.
So I just was like, a lot of red tape, a lot of working under physicians. And I was like, I really wanted that path. I thought, but it's like, it's just too slow. And I just had to crawl up that corporate ladder. So what caused the entrepreneurial bug was my dad. He's an entrepreneur. He quit a CPA as a CPA right around 33 to become a farmer. So he did it. And I just really what helped me was just working on the farm, right? When I was growing up on the fruit orchard, pruning trees, picking peaches in 90, 100 degree weather. And I'm just like, I'm not that I'm above this, but like, I'm going to work hard one day to where I just, have my own job. No one tells me what to do. That's what really planted it. But I learned it though, through 3 years of working for other people. I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you end up in Memphis?
So as I was, doing biomedical, doing the artificial heart research, I bought a duplex in Salt Lake City in July of 2015, and it just clicked. Did the whole spreadsheet, the numbers. I'm an engineer. The rent will cover the mortgage. When I move out, it's even better. Man, I get 10 of these, and I could cover my income at that time.
Yeah.
So then I was like, it didn't cash flow in Utah, so did a whole spreadsheet, analyzed all the markets in the country. Filtered and found that Memphis was one of the top cash flow markets. And like the others you were in, they're on my list. I just went to Memphis because I had better connections there. And I just felt drawn to that. And the people I was meeting, they just were friendly and kind of had some good relationships there just from online chatting on Bigger Pockets and other websites.
Sure. So let's rewind to the duplex for a sec. So what was there a book that you read, a podcast you heard, a friend that you had that inspired you? Like, was there some sort of seed that got planted along the way that was the real estate seed, so to speak?
Oh, of course. The Bigger Pockets podcast.
Yeah.
My dad, he owned a couple duplexes, flipped a few houses, like 10 or 15 or 30, I don't know, in his life. Not recently. And then as I was trying to buy a house, we always knew, growing up, it's better to own than rent, and I was working on the farm. My parents like, hey, put a little bit in your IRA and save up for a down payment on a house. So kudos to them, that's a great financial foundation. I was just like, well, go a house, I could have that, or I could have a duplex or a triplex and go, and that's free. So I was like, I'll just do that.
Did you house hack the duplex? Did you?
Oh yeah.
So you lived in it and had the other unit pay for expenses and mortgage and all that stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. Good job. Awesome. So talk a little bit about Memphis investment properties, kind of the genesis of that and how you got so masterful at this isn't a show about single family flipping at all, but a lot of us are single family flippers, or some of us are flipping right now and want to bust into multifamily. So how did you? I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I think we all have an appreciation for how amazing it is to do 300 houses a year. So, how did you build that? How'd you get to that?
Yeah. So working, and that's where I bought 3 rentals in Memphis while I was still working my job in 2016. And then that's where I found my partners today, Jim Reedy. He's been 30 years in Memphis, and then his son, Brad Reedy. And they started Memphis Investment Properties, a few years before. And they were just, all of a sudden, they just got steroids and were just ramping up really big. They did like 150 flips in 16. But it was just, like you mentioned, just so many fires and chaos, growing pains, and So I'm like, well, I'm an engineer. I can be organized. I think I can do this. And I don't know how. I talked them in. They tried me out as VP of operations. So I quit my job, moved halfway across the country, east of the Mississippi to Memphis. And that year we did 250 and then scaled up to 325. Kudos, all of it, not me, of course, partners as well. But my part is I'm just really, organized processes, systems, data and spreadsheeting things out, IDSing, identifying, discussing, solving. So traction, the main key.
Yeah,
and I think this correlates to apartments too, right? You see the big guys, they get the big teams. They have the acquisition team. They have the sales team talking with the investors. They have the asset manager, property manager. So, I mean, it's pretty synonymous. It's just a little more chaotic, but really, I mean, synonymous to the multifamily investors is just systems and processes, meeting with your teams. How are we going to do this? How are we going to prevent this mistake from happening again? How can we be proactive instead of reactive to all these fires? And as we started doing that, we just started getting more and more organized. And now, I mean, back from 17 to now, it's way less of our time. And so that's why we can now focus on the multifamily. This machine has 20 employees on the single family that just runs. So now we're like, wow, let's scale in the multifamily and try to apply the same principles.
Yeah. It's awesome, man. You really, you accelerated what you would have been able to do on your own, starting from scratch with kind of a limited track record and maybe limited knowledge set and everything else. And you leveraged your partner's experience and hard work to get that machine up and going.
Yeah.
And I mean, to hit the ground running with 250 doors and then 325 the next year, that's outstanding. And look, like mentorship, we talk about it all the time on the show, is huge. It's absolutely huge. And it can accelerate things in a way that also avoids mistakes and costly mistakes, and can take, a 3-year curve and make it 6 months to a year, as far as, getting into an industry. So, good takeaway there. And then, okay, so Southern States started around 17, you said?
Yeah, 2018.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how'd you guys launch that thing? Like what did that look like?
Right. So, I mean, came pretty organically. We already had a lot of single family investors buying a rental turnkey property in Memphis, typically California guys, East or West Coast, big city people that, there's no cash flow. So that we were like, well, God, we already have a third or half of the pain already done. We already have great investors that trust us.
For sure.
Our problem, really just doing it from there. So we the mental barrier, we just wanted to try one on our own. So we actually just used our own capital, me and my partners, and did 100-unit multifamily just with ourselves.
Yeah.
And this was a complete turnaround, a heavy lift. It was 50% occupied, terribly managed. And in 2 years, we got it 100% occupied, and actually sold it for a big profit, a 55% IRR, which was, we were just like, oh my gosh. And so we wanted to mess up on our own money, make all the mistakes, because we just felt that, and not a lot of people doing that's okay, but we just wanted to try with our own money. So that's how we really started, with our own money. And then we're like, wow, listen to podcasts. We're like, well, all we need is an attorney. Like, I guess a big barrier for us was, which is simple, is we just, all the docs, how do you split it? And all the SEC regulations, just understanding that, took a minute, but after that we were off to the races.
So you had these investors that you were already working with and you already had a track record with. So that conversion was so much easier. You had the database, so to speak, and you had the track record and the trust of those guys. Probably the excitement as well. I would think that, hey, we're getting into bigger assets. Like, that's exciting to a lot of people. And I would think a lot of your investors. Did you, just on a technicality here, did you guys, or do you have like a CRM that you email market to as far as your investor base, or how do you handle that, all that stuff?
Yeah. So we use MailChimp and Syndication Pro. together to kind of email them out. We use our YouTube channel as well and just kind of put the links to the YouTube channel on there to keep them engaged and give them updates with what's going on and educate them, of course, on what is this apartment syndication? How does it work? What's a preferred return? All of those things with them.
Yeah. And that's all on your YouTube channel, all the kind of those basic,
the single family and the multifamily. And we go, pros and cons of a single family versus a multifamily, right? You can own it all yourself, but it's a lot more work with a single family, right? But no one tells you what to do. Multifamily, you put it away. Yeah, we take some splits as the GPs, but you don't have to personally guarantee a loan. That's on us, or the deal is non-recourse. So you kind of just and we just we're not pushing them either way. Like, hey, it's another option out there, and just helping you out with another way to diversify and know what's going on that fits your needs.
Yeah. And you know what, if you're doing good business and doing good deals, that's really your job is, for listeners, is to educate. You just educate people on investing in apartments in general. And once you've done that, you educate them on the deal itself. And it's an opportunity for them. That's the mentality that you have to have, is that you're presenting an opportunity for somebody to get involved in a larger scale commercial real estate investment that generally is going to pay very, very nicely to investors. I mean, you mentioned an astronomical IRR in your first deal. I mean, as a lot of listeners will know, anything between a 14% IRR and a low 20s% IRR is kind of where you want to be. I think you could even simplify it and say you want to try to double your money in 5 years. For sure. If you're a passive investor, which is in the high teens in terms of the IRR. So awesome. So talk to me a little bit about, where are these properties and how are you sourcing them?
So we're just home based in Memphis, Memphis, Tennessee. So obviously we got a big property management company, Jim Reedy. He already had that as well. My partner, so he has 3,000 doors under management. So
30,000.
Sorry, 3,000.
3,000. Okay, wow.
3,000. Okay. But still,
that's still great. That's a
lot. 2,000 single family, 1,000 multifamily. So it was pretty easy. Just hired a property manager and put them on board, and then already had all the CRM and everything. We use Propertyware, and already rolling with that. So already had that end. And then to find these deals, man, a lot of them. So we've done 6 over the past, 3-4 years. Brokers, just good relationships with them. One of them, Jim, my partner, he trained like back in the day, 20-30 years ago. So he just gives them a look at the deals he knows that fits his buy box.
Yeah.
Just talking to other brokers, hitting every deal on there. We have sent out some mailers, got a few leads from there. Maybe one will come to fruition, in a year or so. It just depends on where they're at on selling. That's mainly how we've sourced them all.
So broker relations primarily.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Do you have a formal broker relations program as a company, or do you have systems and processes around nurturing those relationships?
I mean, it's like crazy. There's really like 8 guys, maybe 5, really 3 doing 80-90% of the volume. So it's literally just, hey, give them a call once a month, or the deals we do, we let them list it on the back end, right? That's a big one, is just like, hey, like when we sell it, we definitely want you to help us list this. And so that helps out a bunch. And then just really the big thing is just not being a pain in the neck on closing. Just do what you say you're going to do. Be reasonable. If due diligence comes up with something, close when you're going to close, those basics like that.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Bo Beery is a power broker down in Florida in the Tampa market, and God bless everybody down there right now with the storm coming in. But and this is end of September 2022 that we're recording this. There's a big hurricane and about to hit Florida, but he wrote a book called Multifamily Investors Who Dominate. And it's all about being what he calls an elite investor, which is, in his definition, somebody that brokers bring deals to that are off market or going to be on market, but he you get kind of first glance at it. And so if listeners are looking for a great manual on broker relations written by a broker, a very successful high volume broker, in a very hot market and a hot state, I think that book is tremendous. It's the author's name is Beau, Beau, Beery is the last name, Beery, not Barry, but Beery. So anyway, just a quick little sidebar on that and how you can get really masterful at broker relations. Sean, you mentioned calling them once a month. Like that's one of the things that you do. You just want to stay top of mind with these guys. Once you have a reputation with them as a group that will close, and as in your words, you do what you say you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Then at that point, it's just a matter of kind of reminding them that you're there, reminding them that you're actively looking, and that you'd love to do a deal with them in the next 6 months or whatever it looks like. And, and it's not a whole lot more complicated than that, but the more that you systematize that stuff, and Beau recommends actually having a CRM specifically dedicated to your brokers, and put them on an auto drip campaign, get value add emails out to them, that are, hopefully in some way helpful to the broker. So lots of ways to skin that cat, but the most important thing is that you stay top of mind, and you alluded, Sean, to doing some direct to seller marketing and sending out mailers and whatnot. That definitely can unearth deals, but typically those are going to be in the smaller asset class. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah. I mean, I pulled the data in our buy box. There's like 60 in all of Memphis to even buy, where on the single family end, I can send out 10,000 mailers a month.
Yeah.
Right. So I was trying to do that. And yeah, it's just a time game yet again. And like the broker, you just build that relationship with them, and they're usually in outer space on where they want the price to be. And I'm like, yeah, great. Go ahead and list it, but if you want something to close, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
That's the game. That's the game. Cool. So where do you see you guys going from here? Like where are you headed? I saw that you have a written goal of having $1 billion in assets under management with a work-life balance, so that you won't have to sacrifice family time or health for your work goals. So yeah, curious about that goal and any other goals that you guys might have moving forward.
Yeah. So kind of apply the same thing. We're looking for an acquisitions manager on the multifamily side. We have really good client relations manager. Our team's, pretty rolling. We're just looking to expand in more markets and go upstream. Right. So ours have been C class, big time, big, heavy value add. Like we're talking, $25,000 a door, renovations, exteriors, interiors, everything like that. So, I mean, we're raising rents $200-$300 from the base, $500 a month to $800, even $900. And so, I mean, that's great. We've just seen though that takes up a lot of time. There is great returns in it. It's just right. It's a lot easier doing a $5,000 to $10,000 a door renovation.
Sure.
Just as it goes vacant when it's already 95% occupied when you get it.
Right.
But I mean, we'll still do these deals, but we just kind of want to, have more capital put in a B or A class and do these kind of lighter value adds.
Yeah.
And to really do this is my focus, and kind of what I'm getting pulled toward is just, it takes leadership. That's what I've been working on a lot, and communication. It's like, you want to retain your employees, so it's like keeping that great culture. And that's just what I'm seeing from studying all these greats, right? Good to Great, Jim Collins. I'm studying Marriott. He did a bunch of syndications on a lot of his hotels. Like that's how he did it. But their syndications was like a fund. They did like 15, hotels, some were built and done. But I mean, what I've seen a lot though, a tie to all these leaders is, they listen, they're humble. but they're confident and they're willing to take criticism and actually consider it and then change their mind. It, like you see all these, you kind of see these stars of like, yeah, we just, bowl through, kind of plow through people. But I think these other quiet leaders and also the Chick-fil-A guy, Tarek, what's his name? Anyways, I studied him too. Yeah, they're humble and they lead by persuasion instead of by their authority. So yeah, they do have all the ownership and they can say, no, this is my decision. I own all the shares in the company or majority. We're doing this, but very rarely they'll pull that trick out. They're more just like, hey, like, tell me why you don't think this would be a good idea. Like, can you imagine if your boss asked you that? Like, tell me what's wrong with my idea here? What am I missing here?
Yeah.
And that just alone opens up the curiosity. Yeah, I can already feel it in my body, right? Like, you're curious. I'm being candor, right? And then on the other end, for the kind of the shyer employees, right? You want to be kind of candor, like, hey, state your bottom line. I don't think that'll work out, but then also show your work. Like, I don't think it'll work out because point A, B, and C, like, oh, well, I've seen it in the past. We tried that and it didn't work. And, maybe if we could solve this. So it's just getting that communication going. That's where you really solve a lot of the stuff. And that's what I've tried to foster. It's in the book Traction. Yeah. It's just that IDS. And that's how we've really gotten to, and we really talk about our hard issues. Like, guys, I'm really frustrated with this. We've messed up on this 10 times, and it's okay. Like, it's okay we mess up, like, make that okay. Like, no one's chastised for messing up, but what's been going on? What do we think we could do differently? How can we be proactive? So just questions. That's really what's, I think will help us get to the next level, is just creating that team and then fostering that environment, which therefore enables the people, the people below us, because you can't be everywhere at once, to do that themselves and with the levels down below them in the leadership.
That's awesome stuff. Traction. I always forget the name of the author on Traction.
Gino Wickman.
There you go. Yeah. Just a foundational book in terms of business operations and small business, entrepreneurial type ventures. Great book. I also, while we're on books, I have another book on leadership for you. It's right here. I'll hold it up for those of you watching on YouTube, but it's called Straight Line Leadership. The name's a little strange. It's Dusan Jukic, I guess is how you would say that.
Yeah.
DJUKICH. So, but this has been my coach, my personal coach gave this book to me, and it's been awesome. Look, as an entrepreneur, we've said it before on the show, you are a leader, and whether you realize it or not, or whether you embrace it or not, people are looking to you for leadership of ideas, leadership of systems and processes, execution on business plans, vision, your vision, your for what you're doing, what you're up to, and then eventually you get big enough like Sean, and you've got your infrastructure and your team and your staff that and your culture, right? Like, and so the leadership component is so huge for as a success determiner in this space. I mean, the big guys, so many of them are big thought leaders and authors and speakers and podcast hosts, and they just really give a lot back.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's, I'm like, I don't think I'm going to influence tons, but like, dude, I can influence my employees. Like, that's a third, let's call it a half of their waking life. Like, at least if they're just kind of happy, feel at least decently respected, feel like they're moving something, making some progress, they see their point in the system and that they make a difference. That alone just is what the human soul desires, right? Mm-hmm. To be understood, to be cared about, to make a difference.
Yeah.
So giving that to the employees just creates 300 times better attitude and productivity, and then also idea solving. And then I think it's really enabling people. Like, how many times we ask, like, as a leader, like, yeah, we need to come up with ideas, but like, why not just be humble and like, hey guys, like, man, I'm stuck here. Like, this seems challenging. What do you guys think would be the best play? And I kind of cover my mouth. This is what my coach says, I got to cover my mouth, ask the question, cover my mouth. Cause I don't want to show my cards yet.
Right.
I want to hear their ideas first. Cause I'm such a, A type. Here's what we're going to do. I need to just cover my mouth, let them talk and write up all their ideas. And that's okay. Every idea is okay.
Yeah.
Put it up there, because all of a sudden I get a couple gold nuggets of what they know that I don't know. And so that's what I'm trying to see. What am I missing here? Yeah. And also on the enabling is just imagine if, the CEO or any leader, your manager asks you, what do you think?
Right.
What do you think we can do better? What do you think's going on? Tell me about an issue you have that's really pissing you off and bugging you every day. What do you think we can do to make that better, more streamlined, less frustrating for you? So that's the kind of stuff we're trying to ask in our meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's great. I mean, yes, we still have stress and fires, but I mean, now they're solving it down. They're going down to the bottom lines and solving that amongst themselves. I love walking by and just seeing my transaction coordinator with the Reno guys, and they're having a whole 15-minute in-depth meeting talking about something. I don't know what it is, but they're solving something. And we used to have a lot of, there's always a lot of ruffled feathers between Reno and, transactions when things are closing. So it's just good. They're just doing it themselves. Just kind of enable it, show them how to do it, and let them run and let them.
Yeah, it's the who, not how concept. If you're
right,
are you familiar with that book, Sean? I forget who wrote that one too. I'm bad at authors' names.
I forgot too.
And I've done this before on this book. But again, who, not how is it'll come to me, I think. But it's a fantastic book about this philosophy, about the solutions to your business running well really lie in the who that you pick to do the work, not necessarily the how that you invent or create, or that they create to do it. It's you really, like you said, Sean, empowerment, right? Like that's really, people love that. Like to the right personality, like being empowered to do their own job on their own terms is that's huge. That's huge. People must love working for you.
I'll go off on that. Well, yes and no. I'll go off on that. Empowerment, but you need to really, like, no strings attached. If they mess up, like, of course we're going to talk about it. Like, I'm not going to avoid the issue, but like, you don't need to blow up on them. Like I hated that when, I'd mess up or something, and another boss I had, he'd get so mad. I'm like, okay, learn to process your emotions, Mr. Boss. Like, don't be a 5-year-old baby kicking and screaming that something's, spilled milk. Spill milk. What an adult does is goes, oh no, there's spilled milk. One, how are we going to clean it? Right? I call it stuff. How am I going to, clean up the mess? So clean up the blood, but then also what's the Band-Aid? And then also what's the prevention from it happening again? So those three things, how are you going to clean up the mess? How are you going to stop the bleeding? And then also, how are we going to prevent the bleeding from ever happening again? Mm-hmm. And so that's what I ask people when there's a mistake. And, I just, I wish I had that, right? With my other bosses, I want to give that to them. Just give them that grace that I'm human. So, my coach makes me write all the brain farts that I have, right? Oh man. And it's just lets me know, like, hey, you made a mistake. I do too. Now, if it's repetitive over time, we need to have a conversation about that, right? That's different. That's management. But, we're human. We all make mistakes. So giving them that grace, just that alone, then they're braver, right? They're braver to go out and try new things, to be empowered.
Yeah.
So, but the second you destroy that trust by being all mad and being all emotional like a baby, I mean, the next time they're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to think of an idea. Sean's going to get all pissed. Right? If I mess up.
Right.
So that's
right.
huge.
Exactly. Yeah. So, it's entrepreneur. I think one of the things that we all love about entrepreneurship is how multifaceted it is, right? Like, my guess is, and I think I can tell by just sharing this time with you, that you're kind of like me. You're a deal guy, right? Like, you like doing deals and getting business done. But as you scale up, you're all of a sudden you're dealing with a team, you're dealing with being people's boss. You're dealing with recruiting, hiring, training. And there's an awful lot to that. That's not about going out and getting deals necessarily. So, I think just that concept that no day is ever going to be even close to the same as another day in our worlds, like because of all of the hats that we wear. Even when you've got a team like yours and partners and everything else, you still wear a lot of hats, Sean.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Big lessons from your journey so far in the apartment world. We're dealing with some changing tides as far as interest rates go right now, and here at the end of the third quarter of 2022. What have you learned that you would say is like pretty essential, like that's kept you from making big mistakes and has kept you on the straight and narrow?
Okay, yeah. So I would say understand yourself, self-awareness.
Nice.
I
love it.
I think a lot of leaders, and the reason why, back to my story, when someone mess up, they're blowing up because they're not taking care of themselves. They don't know themselves. So self-awareness, I think that's been something I've really been working on the past 3 years. The first 2 years, I was a mess, like emotional up and down, and really just pushing down my emotions, not really understanding myself. So I journal every day, and I try to meditate. I don't get it every day, but that has changed. Like, yes, I'm still doing the same things, but I'm way more purposeful. I'm way more aware of like how others are feeling, and way better at communicating my emotions and what I need, and actually regulating them. Right. So instead of in a meeting when something messes up, I get on a level 10 emotional on anger. Well, there goes my brain. My brain is dumb at that point. So I get back down, calm them down to a 3 or 4 or 5. Right. It happens. You're still going to be emotional. But then at that point, I can ask pretty smart questions, right? Instead of just like, what, who did, right? The 10 emotional guy, who did that? Why, who messed up? Who dropped the ball? Well, a 5 or a 3 would be like, interesting. God, that's a bummer. What's going on? Like where in the, let's draw this out. Let's write it out. A, B, C, D. Let's case study this.
Yeah.
Who's involved? Why? Where was the communication? What can we do from now on? You get so much smarter. So just that self-awareness of where you're at and how you're feeling. And, I just kind of ride those and just know, hey, I'm right here now. And so I'd say that, I got a vision board,
Nice.
I do my daily accountability. Here's my checklist right here. I do this every day. I just kind of fill out how I'm feeling. And then I do, workout, read my scriptures, journal, do some personal development, reading a book or something.
Yeah.
And then just kind of write out, my goals. I've got my goals on here. That just focuses me every day. Cause like you, I'm a captain is my personality. I'm just like, hey, go. I'm kind of ADD. So I need some focus, and that helps me connect with myself and the self-awareness. So that's a big whole topic. And
I love that. I love that you touched on that. To me, there's nothing more important than the mindset piece in this business, and knowing yourself is a huge ingredient in that piece. Because if you don't know yourself, you can't manage yourself. You're not emotionally intelligent or sophisticated, in that realm. And whereas when you do know yourself and you're humble and you get that the world doesn't start and stop with you and all that stuff, like that's when things can really fall into place. And so I love that you brought up self-awareness. It's basically, you mentioned journaling, meditation, your checklist, your vision board, like those are all tools of highly, highly successful, highly effective people. And, for listeners, like if you haven't done that level of work yet, it's probably a really good time to take a look at that. And don't stop what you're doing now. I mean, keep doing your business and whatnot. Don't put everything on hold, but really delve in. And look, I mean, I was a psychology major, and I'll just kind of go to this level with it. Like, you need to heal yourself largely, I think, to be really powerful. And being a human being is tough, and chances are there's things that all of us are not 100% healed from, and sometimes they're big things, and those are gonna like kind of rear their ugly head in the way of constraints on you when you don't deal with them and you don't bring them to the surface and do whatever it takes, therapy, yoga, meditation, prayer, scripture, like whatever it takes to really profoundly transform your inner life, man, your outer life, the results that you'll see will also be transformed from my experience. So
yeah, it pays dividends. And I even got a story on that. I was I'm in a mastermind with just other business owners not related to real estate. And this guy, he's crushing it. He's, $100 million revenue company, whatever, 10, 11 million EBITDA or, net income.
Yeah.
And I was just like, he's of course automatically he's a hero of mine. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I look up to him, and he's a sage, and so he's presenting, and I'm just like, what ticked it for you? And he's like, it was about 2008 or something, because he struggled for 15 years. He was 3 years barely making enough money to even make ends meet doing wow. Starting his business. And but then he started getting some traction. But he's like, the second I made a business plan and had a coach. So I mean, self-awareness is what right. It's based on that. It's just like he's like, I actually wrote down a plan and I had a business coach to help me know what know me, because I need someone else to help me know that. So I mean, that's just huge. And I was like, oh, well, there we go.
Yeah. And I offer some one-on-one coaching to clients, and we always start with this piece. We start with limiting beliefs. What comes up for you when you visualize yourself owning 1,000 units or whatever it is that you're thinking about achieving? What comes up as being a reason why that's not possible, and that's a limiting belief, and we really tackle those head on. I'm not a therapist. I can't I can't go super deep on more personal stuff, but nonetheless, I think the mindset piece is 80-90% of this business. And listeners that have been listening for a little bit are not surprised to hear me say that, because I talk about it all the time.
On your limiting beliefs, which of course I have and had and will still have, we all will. A good book for that is Gay Hendricks' The Big Leap. And it talks about those useless worry, deflecting, blaming, criticism. And so people will literally he'll coach rock star, like a rock star, movie star, and all of a sudden they fall off, drugs, or they a lot of it's subconsciously self-sabotage. And so he goes in and finds those 4 common ways, and it teaches you how to identify those in yourself, what you mainly gear towards of what you create in your head to self-sabotage you. Because getting a $10 million, raising $1 million or 10 million or buying a big, 1 billion AUM, like there's limiting beliefs I'm already creating for myself.
Right.
And so this helps you identify it through a book. And this guy was a therapist, PhD. I don't know, but a big smart guy. And
what's the name of the book again?
The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Gay Hendricks. Okay. Great. That's a great recommendation. And look, it's really about emotional IQ. And self-knowledge is, not to be repetitive, but self-knowledge is such a massive component of that. So, dude, this has been such a rich conversation, and I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing all of your wisdom. If listeners want to reach out to you and network with you and maybe explore working with you in 7 states, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, so personally, LinkedIn, Sean Tagge, SeanTaggE, one and only, very unique name. And then, of course, our website, memphisinvestmentproperties.net. We have our single family turnkeys and multifamily. And then, I'm out there. You can find me and call or email anytime. Happy to talk with anyone. Cool.
So there you go, listeners. Take Sean up on that. It's very generous. He's mastered the single family space and is mastering the multifamily space very nicely. So Sean, any last kind of parting words for the listeners as we wrap this up?
Put you on
the spot there.
Yeah. just really do that. Do a personality test so you can understand yourself. There's tons of them out there. That once I did that, I learned a lot, and just daily small steps every day. Really, that's really what it's been for me the past, definitely 5, but definitely past 3 years. That's really changed a lot for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Daily steps.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sean, thanks again. And I really have a lot of gratitude to you for sharing like you have on this show. And I know that the listeners got a huge amount of value out of it. So we appreciate you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Tate. Happy to be on. Thanks everyone for listening, and reach out.
Yeah. Yeah. And listeners, we thank you for listening. It wouldn't be a show without you. And, your listenership means the world to me personally. This show is very much my baby, as a lot of you know, and it's kind of my pride and joy. And so having people tune in and listen to it is just like a bonus for me. It's always amazing. So really appreciate all you guys, and keep coming back. We're doing 2 of these a week right now. So we're getting a lot of content out, and we're doing that really to help you and help you elevate your game. So keep coming back. You're doing good stuff, and we will check you on the next episode of the Apartment Gurus. Take care, everybody.
This has been the Apartment Gurus with Tate Siemer. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. To contact Tate, go to www.investwithgreenlight.com for access to his investor portal and Calendly link. He loves to hear from you and thanks you for being a valued listener. Just a reminder that you are the guru. See you on the next episode of the Apartment Gurus.